I want to hear for a copy of my book, The Leader Who Had No Title, which is what this presentation is all about. Share what's the best idea? Yes, my friend from, I think, Toronto, right? What's your name, please? Huh? Erfan, nice to see you again. Best business idea you've ever learned? Mario Andretti.
If everything seems to be under control, you're not going fast enough.
If everything seems to be under control, you're not going fast enough. Round of applause for that idea. Woo! And related to that, you might want to write this one down. Victims are frightened by change. Leaders are inspired by change. So if you're not going fast enough, courtesy of Mario Andretti, if things don't seem out of control, you're not going fast enough. We fight change, but there can be no progress without change. Change is hard at first. We're literally, whether it's change in our organization, change with our teams, change with our productivity, change with our health, change with our mindset. Change is hard at first. Why? Because you are overcoming escape velocity, just like the space shuttle uses more fuel in the first 60 seconds than it will use up during its entire circumference around the Earth. So change is hard at first, messy in the middle. Anyone agree with me? Show of hands. Change is messy in the middle. It's confusing. You're disrupting your ways of thinking. You're disrupting your truth. You're disrupting your routines. It's messy. It's confusing. What does society say? There is something wrong. What I'm suggesting to you, there's not something wrong. There's something right. If you're not feeling uncomfortable a lot, you're not doing very much. If you're not feeling confused a lot, you're not growing very much. If you're not frightened a lot, you're not dreaming very big. And change is beautiful at the end. Final question I want you to discuss with your partner, and it's a big, big question. What will you do to become legendary in your work? How many people want to be legendary in their work? How many people want to become iconic in your field? How many people want to, this is a great question to journal on and think on for the rest of the days, weeks, months, and years till you get to the last day of your life. How will you use your life to make history? How many people want to make history with your life? Discuss it with your partner, please. I mean, and it starts with overcoming your fears, right? I mean, how many people are afraid a lot? Show of hands. Yeah, I used to be incredibly afraid of public speaking, honestly. No, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. You know what they say according to the research, the number one fear of a human being? Number one fear of a human being is public speaking. Number two is death. Number three, you know what it is, right? Dying while you're public speaking. No, it is. So, as we continue on our leadership journey, a few ideas to remember, please. Number one, this might be helpful to you. I hope it is. Leadership is really, really simple. It's not easy, but leadership is really, really simple. Leadership is about having great ideas and then remembering that ideation without execution is an illusion. I guess what I'm suggesting to you, leadership is simple. You know what leadership is. It's about making the time to create a space for your ideas to flow in a world where most of us make no time to think. So you get into what neurobiologists call the alpha state, which is the realm of genius that exists in every one of the 1,600 brains in this room. Please do not be hypnotized and think that geniuses are somehow different from you. You have access to the realm of genius. It's called alpha state, but it doesn't happen when you're under stress. It doesn't happen when you're checking your Facebook feed. It doesn't happen when you're watching the news. It happens when you go out on the safari. It happens when you take a bath. It happens when you are alone. It happens when you're writing in your journal. I guess what I'm suggesting to you is leadership is simple. It's about ideas. It's about execution. It's about team building. It's about innovating every day. The ideas that you will hear until we get to the end of our journey today will be simple, but they are not easy. Why? Because it all comes down to a monomaniacal focus on flawless execution. All leaders without titles have a bias towards getting things done fast. I guess what I'm suggesting to you with deep respect is take the ideas, write pages of notes. You're literally going to get hundreds of ideas on productivity, innovation, team building, building a great company here today. And then the hard work starts. It's because success, again, it's not bestowed, it's earned. Execute on the ideas every single day. I guess what I'm suggesting to you is small daily acts of execution over time lead to stunning results. Small daily acts of execution over time lead to stunning results. If you were to make 5 little improvements to your team, to your business, to your career every day, 5. I call them micro wins. This is a big idea. At the end of 12 months from this day here in Joburg, you will have achieved 1,850 little acts of optimization, innovation, and iteration. So, leadership is simple, it's not easy. Number 2, I know you're successful, I know you're smart. My request to each and every one of you here in this room today is to remember that nothing fails like success. How many people in this room feel that they're successful and you're part of a successful organization? Put your hands up, please. My respectful, humble suggestion to you is that you are in the most dangerous, vulnerable position you've ever been in. And why do I say that? It's like a nervous laughter. But why do we do that? It's because nothing fails like success. When we are part of a successful company, it's easy to lose what I call the startup hunger. When you are successful in your career, it's easy to stop doing the things that you did when you were 17 years old and you wanted to change the world with your career. When you are successful, it's easy to stop getting up at 5 o'clock. Yes, I'm going to talk about the 5 o'clock club, winning the battle of the bed, putting mind over mattress. When you are successful, it's easy to stop remembering that you just don't want to go to a meeting with a client or a teammate prepared. You want to be ridiculously over-prepared. When you become successful, it's easy to fall in love with the very thing, to stop doing the very things that made you successful. When you're successful, it's easy to stop outworking the competition, outlearning the competition, out-innovating the competition. I'm going to give you a real-world example from the business. One of our clients, so I say this with great respect, but there's a Canadian company from Waterloo, Ontario. You've heard it. You're not from Waterloo. No, you're not. No, I'm joking. And they used to be called Research in Motion. They're now called BlackBerry. And this was from Canada's national newspaper, so I'm not speaking out of school. But I just want to bring this point home that nothing fails like success. It was an article on Research in Motion, the fact that they lost so much market share to Apple and Samsung. And listen to this, because I want to make this so relevant for you as business leaders. Mr. Balsillie and Mr. Lazaridis contributed to a broken decision-making process that slowed RIM's response to Apple Inc.'s unstoppable iPhone and grew tense and unworkable as RIM's competitive situation deteriorated. Part of the challenge was RIM started to develop arrogance. And that arrogance came from success. And I'm going to say that it impacted Jim a lot more than Mike, says a person close to RIM's board, both before and after the company's IPO. The source continues, in time, he stopped listening. Because you're a billionaire and you know more than everyone else. So you like to hear yourself speak, but not like to listen or take any feedback. And the way to deal with any competitive pressure or suggestion is just to say, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. We're BlackBerry, we're RIM. Do you not know who we are? That arrogance, I think, really, really hurt the company. Nothing fails like success. My invitation to you is make a commitment here in this room to go back to what I call the apprentice mindset. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you know nothing. I'm just going to let that one simmer. Almost every one of us, no, every single one of us, myself included in this room, has a learning disability. This is profound, I think, stuff. It comes from neuroscience. Almost every single one of us in this room has a learning disability. Why? Because when we were born, according to neuroscientists, we have an almost limitless capacity to learn. And then what happens? That teacher in grade 3 says, you can't be a Picasso in your work. And that well-meaning mother says, you can't change the world. And that well-meaning friend says, you can't go out there and be the Jay-Z of tire manufacturing. And slowly we leave the perfection of childhood. And we start to develop biases, assumptions, flawed beliefs. And now we're 35, 45, 55, and we're in business. And we think we see the world as it is, but we see the world through our context of the assumptions, doubts, fears, beliefs, biases that we've picked up from our environmental influences. Does that make sense? These are our learning disabilities. I'm reading this book right now called Subliminal. It's about the science of our subconscious mind. Did you know? Every single one of us in this room, because we're all on this journey together. I'm here with deep humility and respect. Every single one of us in this room, most of what we do at work every single day and at home, we think it's a result of our conscious decisions, but it's the result of our subconscious mind. Because if we actually allowed all of the environmental influences around us every day into our conscious mind, our brains would pop. So the subconscious mind has been created to deal with all those thousands of stimuli coming at us every day. I guess what I'm suggesting is we think we know why we do what we do, but often we are doing it from reasons that are subconscious. So develop the apprentice's mindset today. If you look at Picasso, did you know we pedestal Mozart? We say Mozart was a genius. Did you know if you look at music researchers, they will tell you that it took Mozart 10 years of relentless sacrifice, practice, and work, composing music, 10 years, before the first signs of his genius expressed themselves. He developed an apprentice mindset, not a master's mindset. Today, be open. Look at your behavior. Look at how you work. Look at your resistances. Look at your fears. And then 3, have some fun like you've already been doing. When we were 4 years old with the sparkle in our eyes, we knew how to have fun. How many parents do we have in the room? Let's get to know each other, ladies and gentlemen, my friends. And how many of you were once children yourselves, by show of hands? So adults are nothing more than deteriorated children. Let's have a look about Joey Dunlop. Joey Dunlop is a great example of the point I want to make, which is leadership is about what you do when no one is watching. Leadership is about what you do when no one is watching. I guess what I'm suggesting to you, ladies and gentlemen, is any one of us in this room can be optimistic when you're in front of your supervisor or your best client. Any one of us in this room can be graceful under pressure when you're in front of an audience. Any one of us in this room can work like Da Vinci invented when all eyes are on you. Let me seriously ask you a question. How passionate are you? How optimistic are you? How excellent are you? How ethical are you when you're the only person in the room? A number of years ago, I was in Northern Ireland and I came across a story of a man named Joey Dunlop. And Joey Dunlop was a 5-time world motorcycle racing champion. You know, you've heard of Joey Dunlop. Amazing. When I travel around the world, so many people, at one show, someone came up to me and said, I actually knew Joey Dunlop. He was the kindest person I've ever met. Joey Dunlop was a 5-time world motorcycle racing champion. Joey Dunlop was a man who was a hero to millions of people. And I just have to say this. One of the greatest heroes of my life is the great Nelson Mandela. And it's just such an honor to be here today. Joey Dunlop died when the motorcycle he was driving hit a tree in Tallinn, Estonia under wet conditions. But what I love about Joey Dunlop is what he did when no one was watching. He would fill the trailers that would carry his motorcycles with food, ladies and gentlemen, and he would drive to Romania, and without telling anyone, he would, with his bare hands, feed hungry orphans. And when he died, the reason I'm bringing this to you here in Joburg is when he died, 50,000 people streamed into the streets to honor the way that he worked and lived. When he died, 50,000 people streamed into the streets to attend his funeral and celebrate the way that he lived. And I guess what I'm suggesting to every single one of you in this room with the utmost of respect is before you know it, all 1,600 of us will be dust. And the street sweeper gets buried next to the CEO. And what if the things that we now think are most important, like the title on our business card, like whether people around us like us, like our net worth, the house we live in, the car we drive, all of those seductions that society sells us as the true measures of success. What if on the last hour of your last day, as you survey your life, you realize those things meant nothing? And what if on the last hour of your last day you realize life and leadership only came down to two things? Number one, who did you become? Were you big, decent, courageous, polite, loving, excellent? Did you see your work as your craft? And number two, how many people did you serve? How many lives did you touch? How many leaders did you build? Because ultimately, to lead is to serve. To lead is to serve. To lead is to contribute. When I was growing up, my dad said to me something I've never forgotten, and it comes from the great Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, and he said, "Son, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice." And that is my great wish for you.